Now, normally with these retro reviews, I like to make sure that the movie I'm reviewing is 365 days old, or at least a full year. However, sometimes you come across a few movies that come out in this year that you have to make exceptions for. Whether it's something that's so bad, like 50 Shades of Grey, or in the case of It Follows, something that's so good, I can't put it in my 2015 wrap-up video. I just have to talk about it on its own. It Follows is a horror movie that came out back in March of this year, directed by David Robert Mitchell, and basically follows Jay, a young 19-year-old college girl who seems like the kind of girl that I find myself dating. And she seems to be living a pretty good life. She hangs out with her friends and her sister. She spends a lot of time in the backyard pool. So one night she's going out with this guy named Hugh. They've had a couple dates. One night they have sex near an old parking lot in the back of Hugh's car. Suddenly Jay's chloroformed, tied to a wheelchair, and when she regains consciousness, Hugh informs her that by having sex, he passed on some sort of curse to her that allows her to see some sort of entity that takes the shape of humans or people that she might know. And if it kills her, then it kills her. And not only does Jay have this look of horror, but she has this look on her face like, "The fuck did you do to me?" So the only way Jay can get rid of this is if she fucks someone else immediately. But Jay decides, you know what, I want to try to see if I can stop this thing. I don't want to just pass it on and live forever. I want to see if we can legitimately stop it. Only problem is that her friends and her sister can't see it, but she can. Only those who have the curse or have recently passed the curse can see it. But her friends are willing to help her out and try and put an end to it. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about this movie when it came out back in March. Mostly it was all positive stuff. Like the regular moviegoers and a handful of critics say, "Oh my god, this movie's absolutely amazing, it's brilliant, it's beautiful, it's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen and the best horror movie of the year." And then you have another handful of critics, mainly from the YouTube community, like Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Johns, and Corey Coleman from Double Toasted, saying, "You know what, that was really good. It just didn't impress me as much as it did some other people." And then I've heard people say, "Ugh, this movie, can you believe it? It's fucking shit, it's horrible." Like, I think a month ago, Tarantino put out an open letter to the director of this movie on why it sucked, which I have not read. Don't know if I want to. But after more than half a year of hearing so many opinions on this movie, so many details, what is my take on It Follows? Well, it might be too soon to say, and I know this movie is not 365 days old yet, but I think it's the best horror movie of the decade, that I've seen at least. I know that's high praise, but I love this movie. I absolutely love It Follows. One of the things that really excels this movie is the cinematography and the score. Let's start with the cinematography. This is probably one of the most beautiful looking horror movies I've ever seen. And I can't recall the last time I saw a horror movie that looked this gorgeous. Like, almost every shot in this movie is practically art, in my opinion. Like, I could probably handpick about 20, maybe 30 shots that I would be proud to frame on a wall. I know that sounds really weird, but I believe the cinematography is that good. The only downside is that I wish this movie had come out around this time. And I kind of wish it wasn't horror because it would have gotten some recognition by the Academy for its cinematography. But hey, if it's the best cinematography of the year in my book, that's all that matters. And then there's the score by Disaster Piece, which is like an old school John Carpenter style synthesizer score from movies like Halloween 2 or Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Along with the cinematography, both of these aspects help make the movie look that much more beautiful and makes it a lot more intense. And with the soundtrack, I've been listening to this thing months before actually seeing this movie. I know it's weird that I listen to the score a lot before actually seeing the movie, but that just goes to show how great it is. Like, Every time I listen to this score out of context, I think about like the woods, a foggy plain, some quiet suburban settings, pretty much Santa Cruz. I mean, I recently was in Santa Cruz and was listening to the It Follows soundtrack, and at night, that score plays perfectly with that city, but not to stray too far from the topic. The score definitely fits the tone of the movie, and it just meshes beautifully with all the shots and all the thrills. Our star in the movie is Maika Monroe, who we last saw in The Guest, a movie that when I first saw, I wasn't too kind on. In fact, I hated it. I thought it was going to be one of the worst movies of the year. But having seen it again, I was like, you know what, this movie's kind of good. But we're not talking about The Guest, we're talking about It Follows, another 80s tribute. But Maika Monroe does a really great job in the movie. She plays Jay. It looks really terrified a lot of the time. And I don't know, I really like that the leading actress in this movie, basically a slasher movie, no less, is not some attractive model. This is an average-looking girl that feels legitimately real, and I really cared for her character. I really wanted to see her and her friends trying to stop it. And that's the key thing in a horror movie. You gotta care for your characters to make the scares that much better. Another actor who's really great in the movie is Jake Wary, who is the guy who basically gave Jay the disease or entity. He's great, and he looks terrified also. And like, really, there's a scene in the movie where he legitimately shows his fear of it, and that makes the monster a little more scary than it probably should be. The actors who play Jay's friends, they're good. I've heard many people say, you know what, they're not too good. I don't know, there were parts to me where they seemed a little flat, but on a whole, I didn't think they were bad at all. I mean, I liked them. I really liked these characters in the movie. They seemed like a group of people that I would love to hang out with, and because of that, it made me root for them a lot more, and hoping that they would stop it. Now let's talk about it, basically the monster of the movie. It's a creature, it's a thing. It is something that moves very slowly. It takes the form of a person or anyone that Jay could know. And it's scary in the sense that it moves very slowly, and you think you can outrun it, but it'll find some way to catch up with you, even if it makes no sense. I know it's completely supernatural, but for some reason, it just scares me. Do you guys remember the game Slender back in 2012? That game that everybody lost their shit over? Well, It Follows kind of reminds me of Slender, whereas in Slender, you try to outrun the Slender Man. The Slender Man would never move, but it would find a way to catch up with you and just kill you and take you away. Same thing with it. It never runs. It moves very slowly, and it'll find a way to catch up with you. And there are many parts in this movie with it that made me go, shit! There's one part in that movie that made me jump out of my seat. It was that scary. Now, I'm apparently praising this movie nonstop. I absolutely love it. If I had some problems with the movie, and to me, honestly, these are more nitpicks, but there's one part in the movie where Jay sleeps on the hood of her car at night, alone, while she's aware that it is still after her, but she manages to make it through the night and not get killed. And I'm like, that seems like a really dumb thing to do. Like, a lot of the characters make smart decisions in this movie. That one stood out. And there was another part in the movie near the end where two of Jay's friends fail to coordinate with each other. It results in one of them getting hurt. I won't say much more than that. But it was kind of stupid also. And then lastly, there is a certain point in the movie where you look at the entity and you're like, you guys could probably just go to a scientist and try to figure something out. But then again, we wouldn't have a really great finale. Because, I mean, I love it. I love this movie so much. I think the finale of this movie is really nail-biting, tension-filled, scary, like, it'll put you on the edge of your seat. And again, that's because of the atmosphere, the music, and the fact that you give a shit about these characters. And then for the ending, I won't say what the ending is because I don't want to ruin the movie, but it kind of reminded me of Inception. And that's all I'll say. To wrap things up, It Follows is my second favorite movie of the year. Sorry, Martian, but I still love you. I could see myself watching this movie over and over again. It's a tribute and a throwback to 80s horror that somehow manages to be fresh and new, in my opinion. I love the actors, I love the cinematography, I love the score. And with talks about a sequel, I'm just like, please don't do it, especially if they want to explore the origins of it. Like, you're going to ruin it. Just leave it alone. It Follows is perfect the way it is. So for my rating, it's pretty obvious that I'm going to say get off your ass and see it now. I absolutely adore this movie. I can't recommend it enough. It really, no doubt, it's going to stick around from one of my favorite movies of the year. I love it. I can't wait to see what the director, David Robert Mitchell, does in the future, as well as Maika Monroe. I absolutely love her. And that's my review for It Follows. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends. Don't forget to check out my official website, therealmrrobinson.com. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Periscope. And this is The Real Mr. Robinson telling you, there's only one.